Welcome to Girls and Math, a unique blend. I am Raina Bonso, a 6th grader at Castilleja School. Do you love math? Whether you do or don't, I want to inspire girls to enjoy math and not to find it as a hard subject by hosting a videocast series. Today, I will be interviewing Mr. J, a math teacher at Castilleja School. Mr. J, it is a pleasure for you to be here today to talk about math and your math journey.
Thank you, Raina.
Just to have the audience to get to know you a little bit, could you please tell me a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, your favorite memory from middle school, etc.?
Yeah, I grew up here in the Bay Area. I have a family. I have a wife. I have 2 kids. My younger daughter, Gracie, is in 2nd grade, and my older daughter, Emma, is your age. She's a 6th grader right now. I went to public schools all my life, including middle school. I went to a public middle school in Millbrae, where I grew up. Middle school was kind of a tough time for me, but I think that my difficult middle school experience has helped shape who I am as a teacher today.
Could you please talk more about how the tough time in middle school could help you teach girls here at Castilleja?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one thing I didn't have when I was in middle school was somebody to tell me that challenges and difficulties, making mistakes, that all those things are okay, that they're part of the process. And I think now that I've been through that, that's one of the messages that I give to my students now in saying that you're gonna make mistakes. I want the math to be challenging. If you struggle, it's okay. That's messages I wished. Those are messages I wished I had gotten when I was a young person. And I think it's really good for young ladies in particular to hear those messages.
So how did you get interested in math?
Yeah, so I got interested in math a little bit late. When I was in middle school, I didn't have a great relationship with math. And high school, it got a little bit better, but I still wasn't crazy about it. And it wasn't until I got to college that I really started to fall in love with it. I think that my understanding of algebra in particular really got stronger when I started taking more advanced math classes. And I know that sounds kind of funny, but it just started to click for me when I got to college. So that's really when I found my love.
So you talked a lot about how you wanted to get the message out to young women, but was that your inspiration to continue pursuing math, or was there a different inspiration?
It was a little bit of both. I realized that I love explaining things to people. I think I became even more passionate about it when I myself had a growing family, 2 daughters in particular, and I see that the value in women's education, it's just such an important thing. So I think it was both kind of my love for math and my desire to educate women leaders in the world.
You talked a little bit about girls pursuing math. So do you think that over your years of teaching, have there been any thoughts or maybe any stereotypes that girls might have faced when they were trying math or any STEM subjects?
Yeah, this is going to go back to something that I talked about before, and that is the idea of struggling and making mistakes. I think that there is a tendency for a lot of the girls that I have taught to want to be perfect, and perfect is not a thing. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to look at something and say, I don't know the answer right away. And working through that is such an important part of learning. And I encourage that as every year goes on in my teaching career, more and more and more to my students.
So you talked a lot about encouraging messages. So over your years of teaching, do you think a student might have said, oh, math is too hard, or I'm not good at math, and how did you respond to that?
Absolutely. I hear that often, actually. I still hear that. And it's okay to feel that way. One of the things that I like to say when a student says, I'm never going to understand this or this is too hard, is something like, instead of saying it that way, say, I don't get it yet. Just adding the word yet at the end of that sentence is very powerful. Everybody has the ability to excel in math. One of the things that I really try to encourage people to not buy into is the idea that there's being bad at math. There's no such thing as being bad at math. My job as an educator is to try to improve students' relationships with math. Everybody has the ability to interact with math. Everybody.
Yeah, I think that's really important to know. So, when you were teaching, have you ever tried to inspire them to like participate in math competitions or study math more?
Absolutely. We have one coming up, as a matter of fact, that I just promoted. And math competitions are a great way to experience a different kind of math. And I don't like to think of these competitions as something that you need to necessarily excel at. It's an opportunity to explore different kinds of problems. And going into them knowing that it might not be easy, it could actually be really hard, is part of what makes it fun. So when I encourage students to do these competitions, I also tell them it's going to be challenging, and that's why you should enjoy it. Math is fun when it's difficult.
Yeah. So have you taken any math competitions before?
You know, when I was younger, I didn't take any math competitions, and if I could go back in time, I would have loved taking math competitions.
Yeah.
I wish that I had had that opportunity.
Yeah. So you talked also about like inspiring them to study in math competitions, but what do you think is the best way to prepare for these math competitions?
You might be a little bit surprised, but I actually think that it's all about mindset. I often tell students that you shouldn't prepare going into a math competition, that you should just go into it with what you know. I know a lot of students who have liked to prepare for math competitions, and that's okay, but I don't want any student to feel like there's pressure to prepare. So, mindset, going into it again, knowing that it's going to be hard and saying, hey, I'm going to struggle, but this is part of the fun of math. This is part of what it looks like to explore new things. I also like to talk about math play, and a lot of these problems inspire math play. So in terms of preparing for the contest, it's really just, it's all up here.
So when you teach sixth grade math, you often talk about the why of each problem. Could you explain more about that?
Absolutely. The why is really important. So I will talk a little bit about my own experience when I was younger. I remember teachers just kind of giving me algorithms, ways to do problems, say, do it this way, and then I would just do the same problem over and over the way that they would tell me to do it. And I never knew why it worked. I never understood the why behind what they were telling me to do. As my relationship with math started to improve as I got older, I had those questions. I wondered why these things worked. And that prompted me to start exploring that. And really, that didn't start happening until I was a teacher. So while I started my teaching career, I was also learning the why behind these things. And I have found that when students understand the why behind the concepts, they understand them more deeply and can engage more with the problems. And it makes it more fun. It just makes it a lot more fun. And so students know now, when I say, what am I going to ask you next if I give you some math trick? Why, Mr. J? Why does it work?
Yeah, I think the why is really important in every math concept.
Yep.
So, just to end off the episode with these last 3 questions, do you have a favorite math topic or concept that you really like?
I think my favorite has always been algebra. I think it shows in my 6th grade classroom whenever we talk about algebra and unknowns and variables and equations and expressions. It just makes me happy. I love solving those types of problems. I used to teach algebra, 8th grade algebra at my last school. It doesn't mean that I don't teach algebra now. It's very much a part of our 6th grade class here at Castilleja. I think that's always been my favorite, and I think it will always be my favorite, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So do you have any math joke or riddle that you really like and you'd like to share on this channel?
I have one, and I had to write it down so I wouldn't forget it. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, why was the equal sign so humble? Because it didn't want to make a big comparison.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a new one. I haven't
That's a
shared
good-
that one with you before.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so just to end off this episode with this last question, who is your favorite STEM math model and why?
So I don't know if the audience watching this is going to know who this person is, but her name is Danica McKellar. And so when I was a kid, I watched a TV show, and it was called The Wonder Years. I used to love watching this show. I was probably about your age when I was watching it, and that one of the main characters in the show, the actress's name is Danica McKellar, and her name in the show was Winnie Cooper. At the time, I wasn't aware of any relationship she had with math. As I got older, I started to notice, wait, she put a book out, and it's about math. And then she put another book out, and it's about math. And the whole idea behind these books was to inspire women and to help girls feel confident in math. And the fact that she was somebody that I idolized as a child, and now she's a mathematician trying to inspire young women, it was a no-brainer for me that this was the person I would talk about.
Yeah, I've heard of her before, and yeah, she's a really good math model for girls. So thank you for coming on this channel. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Raina. I appreciate it. Nice chatting with you.
Thank you.